Those two, a lot of respect. And what Bernie doesn't tell you, he doesn't brag about it, is just like yourself, Cass, and you don't brag about this. You're both a couple of ex-Great Britain bowlers.
Well, thanks, Nick, for that recognition. Yes, Bernie White and myself both represented Great Britain more years ago than I care to remember.
Were you on the same team?
No, we weren't actually. I think Bernie's got a year or two on me.
Very delicately put. Right, down to business. Mike Mullen with the first ball of this Baker.
Oh, it's on the lane, that's good.
And as he seems to do every time in this format, he kicks off with a strike.
Yeah, there was a shout from somebody that the ball is on the lane at least, and I think that must have been Dino. Nice and wide down the left-hand side, and it rips back and straight in the 1-2 pocket.
That's nice to know that Dino will sledge his own teammates.
I don't know if there was so much sledging as words of encouragement, shall we say.
Now, here's Lassie Lintila. The Finn, elevated in the line-up to the lead-off man. They so need a good start here. To fall behind early would really demoralise this group. Oh, it's rocking and rolling, but standing up, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's a real wobbler. Nice little shot right into the 1-3 pocket. He's left himself a 4-pin, which should be a straightforward spare. I think he's going to change balls to get his spare ball out to shoot this spare.
Oh, the high kick at the end.
Yeah,
that's not one we've seen before.
Should be on the stage. A bit frustrated, I think, now.
Lionel Blair, eat your heart out. Just got to make sure of this. It was okay in the end. So a spare, no great damage done. Now here's the tough-talking Texan, Dino Castillo. A man with a rich vocabulary and not afraid to use it. And a very solid Baker player.
Yeah, the number 2 man for Team USA. Working on a strike. And obviously looking for the double.
Well, he actually got away with one there, because that wasn't a good ball from Dino.
No, it just went a little bit too long, and Tim's chucked him his spare ball. There's a 2-pin standing up on its own. And we've actually seen Dino miss a couple of single pins earlier in the tournament.
Yes.
So, testing time ahead.
He just made that,
He just made that to the cheers of the Team USA side.
Tim Mack was hugely impressed with that from Dino. Thomas.
It's a bit of sledging from the Team Europe side. Nice one, guys.
Well, I think you saw there. This there might be a little bit of gamesmanship, but it's all pretty good-natured stuff. No nasty edge here between this group of players that all respect each other and get along pretty well together, it has to be said. Here's the skipper, Thomas Lee Anderson. Can he get the first strike for the Europeans? Thomas has really had some trouble with this lane. It's been a consistent feature of his game. He just never... This is a man that can dominate a lane, and he's not really been able to do it in this Weber Cup.
No, he's played several different lines and seems to have little success at all with any of them. This ball, as you can see, is so wide, it only just makes the head pin, and that 2-8 sleeper spare there is not going to be easy to get rid of.
Yeah, tough spare, this one. He's gone for the hook, and that's perfect. That's how you play that spare.
Yeah, fine hook ball. Took it out very nicely.
Yeah, this is how they teach it in the textbooks, isn't it?
Oh, you've got to get some fingers in that ball and get the rotation on it to make it hook like that. These guys are experts.
Here is bespectacled Bill Hoffman with a very idiosyncratic stance. I think you described it best, a man sort of caught in a storm. Looks like he's going to stay upright. And those pins, are also trying to stay upright, but he got lucky.
Oh, lucky man, lucky Bill. Very fortunate here just to trip that 10-pin out at the end. Some loose flying pins around, got it out for him. He's only just made the head pin, and there's the flyer.
That could have been anything.
Counts as 10, and hey.
Yeah, there was an embarrassed grin there. Here's Phil Scammell. Another Weber Cup debutant here. Had an absolutely terrific singles match last time out. Really toughed it out. And starts with a strike here. Really had a good match, winning by just a pin against Dino Castillo in a real test of nerves. And Scammell kicks off with a strike here for the Europeans.
Yeah, pretty devastating shot from Phil here. Lots of length and a lot of rotation right into the 1-3 pocket, and his body language told us that was a good one. He was very happy with that.
So here's the big man, Tony Manna. He only just made contact with the headpin, and the Americans are just tiptoeing along a rather dangerous line at the moment. None of them have been entirely convincing, you know, and they've all got away with it.
You'll notice that this ball has gone very, very long, and when the shots do go long, that 2 and the 8 pin tend to stand up quite a lot. This time he's a little bit fortunate because the 2 pin's gone down, and all he has left is an 8 pin, so he'll actually be thanking his lucky stars. This is a straightforward spare.
Yes. Just like Hoffman, he got a break.
Takes it out quite nicely.
A strike here from Torgerson would keep the Europeans right in it.
Yeah, just a 2 pin deficit at this stage, but the European team are working on a strike, so if Torrey can make one here, it'll be a double. And this is what this Baker system's all about, stringing strikes together.
Just like that, really quality strike from the Norwegian.
Yeah, it was a beautiful shot. Here we can see the slow motion replay. Straight down third arrow, around about 15 board, and makes the 1-3 pocket beautifully.
Now, we've seen lots of different styles. What Tim Mack tends to give you is a kind of blitzkrieg bowl. The ball will just fly down this lane and just bully the pins into submission.
It'll be interesting to see what line he's playing. He's playing what we call coast to coast. It's an out and inner, and that's exactly what I was talking about earlier on. That 2 and the 8 has stayed there again because he didn't make the head pin. The ball went too long, and unfortunately he's left the 10 pin with it, so that's odds on that this is going to be an open frame. See, that ball just hangs out there and doesn't make it back. And there's the 2, 8 and the 10. That's a horrible spare.
So American fortune finally running out. And Tim Mack's got a real tough one here. He'll just try and my guess is that he will try and chip that 2 across to knock out the 10.
It's about 100 mile an hour he's throwing that ball.
Yeah.
Unfortunately he's only taken the 1.
Open frame. Well, he really went for it, didn't he? He gambled here, really rolled the dice as well as the ball, put everything into that.
Absolute power. But that opens the door for Team Europe.
Yes, not the most convincing 5 frames from the Americans, culminating with that open frame from Mack. And here's Gary Verbruggen going into almost virgin oil on that left side. Only Mike Mullen has been bowling down there.
Working on 2 strikes, looking for the 3rd.
Oh no, the 7 wouldn't go down for him.
Nice shot from Gary, right in the 1-2 pocket. Played very wide down the left-hand side. Beautiful rotation on the ball, and it gets to the break point, and there it comes back right into the pocket, but that 7 pin stood solid. He'll straighten his shot out now. He's come right across the other side of the lane. Straighten his shot out for this reasonably simple spare. And that's it at the halfway stage.
Well, they were hanging in there at the halfway stage of the last Baker and then collapsed. For once, Team Europe ahead in a Baker. Can they hold it? The Americans mounted the big fight back last time these teams met in a Baker. They're 22 pins adrift. Mullen, who's automatic almost, and there's the curse of the commentator right there.
Nice one, Nick. 2-4 and the 7 pin left by Mike Mullen. And on this lane, it's not an easy spare. As we mentioned earlier, it's freshly conditioned, and there's oil out there, so he needs to be very, very accurate.
Yes, and he's following Gary Verbruggen's ball there as well, and I wonder if that might have had slight effect on the ball. But anyway, tough spare. Gettable, but it's got to be accurate. No margin for error there at all, and safely dispatched. But the Americans still not able to collectively find a groove here.
And they've only had 2 strikes so far, one from Mike Mullen and one from Mr. Hoffman.
Whereas the Europeans had 2 strikes as well, but they managed to get them back to back.
Yeah, and the Americans had an open frame as well, which makes a vast difference.
Lasse Lintila had a 9 spare to open up. And it was a good shot too, it deserved a strike. That deserved a strike, and that's exactly what it got.
Yeah, a very nice, fantastic shot from Lasse Lintila. Presented himself well at the line, released it, beautiful follow through and lift. Blasted the pocket.
And it means that Dino Castillo has been put into a situation here where he pretty much has to match that, otherwise this gap's going to get uncomfortably large. So no pressure on you, Dino, but you need a strike.
And you're about 22 pins down as well.
I tell you, something about this Baker format brings out the best in Dino Castillo.
That'll do for me, nice shot. Straight down the line, lots of rotation. Here comes the hook, and that's in the perfect place. The sweet spot. Yeah, he's looking for some applause as well.
Well, they gave him a hard time last time, didn't they, his teammates, because he got a little bit lucky with his spare. Now, will luck smile on Thomas Leanderson, the number 2 man, who got an 8 spare last time. Strikes have been hard to come by for the European skipper. And he gets one. Gets the kiss on the 10.
Yeah, it's a nice little pocket shot, a little tap, what we call a tap on the 10 pin. It's the last pin to go down, but more importantly, it's a double for Team Europe in frames 6 and 7. And that obviously will extend the lead. There's the little tap. Oh, thank you very much.
Yes. Well, that really sums up his Weber Cup, doesn't it? He'll celebrate the strike.
He's making the most of it when he can.
So the lead grows, and Hoffman needs to make sure it doesn't grow any greater. Yeah, terrific strike.
Yeah, and that's a great response by Team USA. That's a strike for Bill Hoffman and a double for Team USA. So the fight is on. This could be going down to the wire, Nick.
It brings up Phil Scammell, who had a strike last time, and if he can do it again, it'll be 3 in a row for Team Europe. Turkey.
We're also in a 32-pin lead as well. And with only a couple of frames to go, that could be a winning margin.
Well, never bet on Team Europe in a Baker.
I'm glad you said that, Nick. I'll mention your name in dispatches. Come on, Phil.
Yeah, this is looking good.
Turkey time for Team Europe. Phil Scammell with the high fives. This is a fabulous shot. Beautiful extension down the lane. Rotation and right into the 1-3 pocket. 3 strikes in a row for Team Europe.
And it means that Tony Manna's got to match that. And then it's Thomas Leanderson that's showboating in the background there now.
It's not all over though.
No, it's not. A strike here from Manna keeps the Americans in it. That's a good ball. They never give you anything easy, do they, the Americans? It's just not in their nature. If you're going to beat them, you've got to go out and do it. You've got to earn it.
You just think you've got them on the run, and back they come. 3 in a row. Okay, foundation frame now for Team Europe. Here's Tony's fabulous shot. Look at the rotation on that ball. It comes roaring back.
It's 2 absolutely perfect strikes back-to-back for the Americans. But if Tora Torgerson can match that here, they'll be within touching distance of it, Team Europe. Will they go? Ooh, he's heavy on the head pin.
No, he didn't like that at all.
No.
I think he came out that ball a bit too early. There was, that was more of a twister than a roller. He's inside his mark, and yes, it's going to break. It's way inside, and that's high through the head pin. And it's the 3, 6, and the 10 pin left.
So I've got to make sure of this. The complexion of this game can change very quickly if this stays open. That was a tough one. Dug it out. It still means that Tim Mack's got a shot though, and how often do we see Tim Mack finish with 3 strikes in a Baker, and that margin of error is not very wide now.
Yeah, 225 if Tim can strike out with 3 in a row. And that means that Team Europe would just have to make 20 pins in the last frame. Now he's going to have to summon all his experience here.
Yes, has to be a strike. Can Mack keep the American dream alive in this Baker? That's the hook, and he's in there like swimwear.
Great shot, Tim. Great shot. Earns himself 2 bonus balls. They'll be pleased with that. That's 4 in a row for the Americans. And they're not laying down.
Well, Tim Mack won't need reminding that the last Baker was won and lost in frame 10, and it was Mack that won it.
Yes, he's a great clutch player. When he's asked to strike out, he's normally there.
I think he's the best of this whole group. If you absolutely have to pick one guy to get it done for you, this is probably the guy you'd choose.
Nick, I can't disagree with you there. And there's another one.
Look at this. It's almost ordained. You knew he was going to finish strongly.
All 10's big.
Yeah, it's a real cameo performance from Tim Mack. Great excitement for the crowd here tonight.
This ball for 225, and a lot of hard work for Gary Verbruggen. Well, would you believe it?
It's so important he gets a strike here, because if he does get a strike, it's going to force Gary Verbruggen to make a double, and that's exactly what he's done. This is real professional stuff. Absolutely fantastic from Tim Mack. 225 for Team USA, and that's such an important 6 strikes in a row, because it forces Gary Verbruggen to make 2 strikes to win the match.
Just when you thought Europe were going to coast to victory, a sizzling second half from the Americans, and the pressure on Gary Verbruggen's shoulders is immense.
Yeah, they've hit 6 in a row, which is in bowling terminology is a 6-pack, which is rather obvious, but Gary now needs to double. Nothing else will do. And to get the second one, he's got to get the first one.
Yeah, so this has to be a strike, otherwise it's over. And it isn't, it's over, and they've blown it again, the Europeans. But this time, you have to say, well, it's the Americans that have come back and just taken it.
Absolute, well, let's say this a bit of daylight robbery, really, because 6 in a row to finish with, and Gary's shot here is not bad. It's in that 1-2 pocket, and that elusive 7-pin again stands up, and it's cost him the match.
Well, it's probably no consolation to Thomas Lee Anderson and his boys that this time, at least they didn't blow it, they've just had it taken from them.
Oh, that's right, they were... and there's Thomas, a little bit disappointed yet again. He saw the winning post and he saw his team were in front, but... another strike from Gary Verbruggen will give Team Europe 223, and they've lost by 2 pins. But what a fantastic... run out for Team USA. 6 strikes to finish with, and Tim Mack, the captain, 3 in a row. Exactly when he needed to do it.
Well, Verbruggen didn't exactly disgrace himself. There was nothing he could do. They've done it again, the Americans. They owned this Baker series against the Europeans. This time it was close, but once again, it's Team USA that come out on top. Just 3 pins, 225 plays 222, and it means that the American advantage in the overall standings is now back up to 3 points. It's Team USA 11, Team Europe 8.